All right, we got charting guy back here. I'm gonna try to lay down my thesis in terms of whether or not there's going to be a lengthened cycle here and why I thought that would be. Well, welcome back, man.
It's good to be back.
Yeah, feel free to call me stupid or whatever. It's completely fine. So I don't know if you know, like there's actually a an indicator here on TradingView called like M2 Global Liquidity Index.
Mm,
Yeah, so if you look at it, this is basically a summation of for five different M2 money supply. So it's like I think it's US, China, Japan, Great Britain, and Europe, and basically just summarizes like all the M2 supplies, right? So I kind of have a little bit of like a rough idea. I just want to pull up and show you like this you can actually track, right? If I did a couple of charts here, I don't know whether or not you've been like looking at my like the Gann charts I learned from
yeah,
Bit.
I've seen them. Yeah,
Yeah, so the whole
yeah, they've
idea
been
is,
great.
yeah, they follow really great market symmetry. They're really fun to do, and they actually give me like some idea in terms of where things could go. And if you look at the Bitcoins, again here that I have for the monthly, really since 2012, you can see how it kind of follows global liquidity very closely.
Mhm.
You can see how whenever you have a hard time kind of breaking above the resistance zone over here, you have a bear market for Bitcoin, right? And whenever it breaks above and back test it, usually that's generally a zone where you have some short-term weakness, but then after you backtest, it's generally you have a very, strong impulse that happens afterwards, right? And that generally corresponds to Bitcoin making like some crazy all-time high parabolic move stuff, right? And
Mhm.
usually corresponds it to from like making from one arc to another, right? Same
Oh,
thing
that's beautiful.
happened. Yeah, I know. Like it's pretty good. It lines up pretty well. So the thing it worked out for like obviously this like shortened cycle here, like you said, the liquidity was just not, it's not
They're
really
just way
reflective.
different.
Very, very different because nobody really knew like or care about Bitcoin. It's just a lot easier to pump. But really ever since here from like 2014, 2018, and from 2018 to like, 2022, it really follows these liquidity cycles here.
Mhm.
Resistance here, break above, back test the zone, right? And that's where you have the COVID weakness. And really, what happens is you have like you got to the arc, broke down underneath of it, and you back tested the arc here, flip it into support, and then just move up to the next area, right? Whenever you have this global liquidity increase impulse going up. So I'm seeing this over and over again, and this cycle just seems longer, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm not making this up. You just have a hard time pushing above this resistance zone for a lot longer compared to before, which is why I think that the maybe why Ethereum is lagging behind, maybe why Bitcoin's also just showing a little bit more like, not, it's just not as strong. Like, a lot of people might claim that this is because of diminishing return or whatever, but I just wonder whether or not it's just that the global liquidity has just been basing for so long, it's underneath resistance for so long. Even this back test took longer compared to before.
Yeah,
So yeah, so it just makes me wonder whether or not this is something that will continue to carry through, and again, I can't, I think this might be more important than having, to be completely honest with you.
yeah. Liquidity definitely runs crypto more than the halving. I agree with that.
Yeah, because I think the halving was important for Bitcoin liquidity in the past, obviously, because it
Mhm.
does have to do with supply and demand issues. But it's just like right now, I just don't really see that as like a big thing anymore. The
Agreed.
other thing too, and you looked at this too, like I don't have to tell you, like the same
Yeah.
thing with the last few cycles, you have this
Mhm.
crazy impulse with Bollinger Band expansion on the monthly. And this happened pretty much every single bull cycle. I mean, granted, we haven't really had that many bull cycles in the past, so maybe this time is different, but those are kind of a little bit dangerous words, right? So whenever you have this kind of back test of the resistance of the M2 global money supply, and it just has a big impulse, that Bitcoin generally runs up for like a year. And it generally gets very parabolic and it expands the Bollinger Band to the upside and downside.
Yeah.
So it happened over and over again. Even this last cycle over here, it did the same. Whenever you have money printing, you have the impulse going up. That's when you have the parabolic bull trend, right? After the back test. Right now, we just had the back test, and this cycle just lasted a lot longer over here based on global liquidity breakout. And I just have a hard time seeing them not printing money, you know?
Yeah.
So
No, yeah, eventually some of the central banks will. So how about the timing of last cycle, like December to April, really?
let me see.
Like, what
So
if we could get like a quick move like that?
yeah, like this one right here, like
Yeah,
with the six
so
month.
that's kind of
Yeah.
what I'm looking for to
Yeah.
happen in the coming months into the spring, and that could align with this back test of the global liquidity and then its first breakout.
It's
Um,
possible. And then after that, you just maybe instead of having like a big bad, drawdown like you did with your phases, maybe it was just
yeah,
kind of go like sideways, Who
yeah. Like I
knows?
said, I'm open to
Yeah.
the fall top, but I still think the spring top will be a major top. But
Yeah.
carry on.
Yeah, and there's no problem because I see a possible big impulse coming in. There's could be a lot of gains that got everybody trapped here. I don't have any problems with that theory either.
Yeah.
This is the U.S. money supply. Like why is it that it's going up? The global money supply is kind of trending down here a little bit.
Mhm.
Interesting, right? I mean, I don't know. Like same thing. China is going up, and then like global equity is kind of going down. I think Japan's lagging here.
Yeah.
Maybe because of like they're trying to like hold up their currencies, and they're trying not to do as much like quantitative easing. Maybe that's why it's kind of like lagging. Maybe that's why we're having a little bit of back test. I don't know. I don't know exactly what it is.
Yeah, because
But
they normally
yeah,
don't they normally don't care as much about that stuff. They normally just keep printing, and then they kind of recently became conscious of it because with the yen's at like a 30-year low or whatever.
yeah.
So
So I think
it
their
makes sense
quantitative,
why that would be slowing things down.
yeah, the quantitative easing they might need to be more cautious. And you can see the same thing with their stock market too. Like with the Nikkei, everybody got super scared here by like the yen
Oh
close rate.
man, what
But
a buying opportunity
I
for
know,
everything in
right?
August. Oh my
Big
gosh.
giant hammer bottom here, but it's just been going sideways for a year. I think like the
Yeah.
liquidity has just been stopped. But I also think that the other thing too I want to talk about, which I think is pretty important, is China. And the
Hmm.
reason why I want to talk about China is because the last few times when you have the big giant impulse of Bitcoin, China had to participate. Like you can't really have like a big giant impulse in Bitcoin when the Chinese stock market is just kind of going down. Like you just can't. I think what happened last time too was that ch the China market just topped out a little bit early,
Hmm.
and that's maybe why like liquidity is just kind of leaving the system, and that's why we end up
We had
making
a little double top type thing. Yeah.
exactly yeah, because that's atypical. Like whenever you see this big giant impulse all the way to like the 2018, scared right when they I guess right when they like start doing like tariffs and things like that. You have
Yeah.
big giant impulse going up, right? And then that coincides with Bitcoin going up. And I think this big
Hmm.
giant impulse over here is also allowing Bitcoin to go up. So right now, if you're looking at this, I think the Chinese market has been doing pretty decent over the last year.
I'm I'm actually so glad it made a higher low
Yeah.
recently
Yeah, I
on
know.
that major higher low right
Yeah.
there. Yeah,
And
that was really nice.
it looks very nice because if you look at like this is a higher low compared to that. If you count this wick over here as a higher high compared to that, right? So,
Hmm.
and you can also see that too with and also reclaim like this is log scale, you can do linear, but on the log
Yeah.
scale, reclaim the 0.382, which is pretty important to me, right? It got
Yes.
rejected here at zero point 0.5, but it's reclaiming the 0.382, is forming higher highs, higher lows. You also look at the 20-month moving average is expanding on the Bollinger Band, right?
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
Yeah, it's also turned the 20 from resistance here to support, right? So to me, I think that China probably has enough juice to run up to the golden pocket up here. The maybe
Yeah,
yeah,
I agree. That would be my minimum target based on looking on that. I mean,
yeah,
the golden pocket's always my minimum target for a stronger impulse, not a bear market rally really, but as far as their bull cycle, this cycle, that's minimum target for literally all altcoins for me, and really China would make sense as well.
yeah. So if you have injection of the Chinese liquidity coming in, and if this trend line over here, and this is in lock, but if this trend line over here works out, then I can see
Hmm.
it hitting the golden pocket. Like, I can see it hitting like the log 0.786 right there around 28,000.
Hmm.
And that could happen anywhere, maybe around like December. And that could
Yeah,
give a pretty strong impulse.
that'd be fire.
Yeah. Yeah. Like if China does well, I just have a hard time seeing Bitcoin
Yeah,
go
yeah,
well,
seeing Bitcoin not
right?
doing well with it. I agree. I
Yeah.
agree.
And you also can see like what has been happening here on the Ichimoku on the monthly.
It's trying to break out.
It's trying to break out, right? Rejection, 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 hammer support on the Tenkan and
Yeah,
Kijun.
hold it. Yeah.
Bullish cross right there is trying to push out, right? So I think it has enough juice to at least get to the top of the cloud over here.
hmm
Maybe by like this month or next month, potentially, if this breakout is real.
Can you scroll to the left and look at the prior bullish crosses on it?
Yeah, so prior bullish cross, I mean you have like a little bit of false cross over here, right? But this is also when you have the big pump from like, from like 2022 to early 2020,
Yeah.
so 2020, 2021, right? Like this bullish crossover here, I guess is a little bit delayed, right?
hmm
And then before that, you had a bullish crossover in 2017, right? And that was also a little bit delayed because the bull market is really going from like 2016 all the way to
Yeah.
to January 2018, which is also when that the Bitcoin cycle has topped, right? So you had a bullish crossover here. Theoretically, it should go on at least for a few months, if not like a whole year, right?
Yeah. So I'm open to both scenarios.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if China does well, I just have a hard time seeing Bitcoin and altcoins not doing well, right? That's one theory. The other theory too, let me see. I also was looking at the IWM as well,
Yeah.
which is a very, very important signal for global liquidity, right?
hmm
So, well, or even just US liquidity in general, like it still hasn't really broke above its all-time high. Previously, whenever you get through the golden pocket over here, and it did get to the golden pocket, right? Like if you, it's even trying to make a all-time high here, but if you are just kind of looking at that, like these are log obviously, but if you look at
Yeah.
linear too, yeah, it's basically, oh, this is actually, wait, let me see. Sorry, I just want to make sure. Yep, this is linear. Even
Yeah.
linear is breakthrough about the 0.618 is trying to break through 0.76, right? It's trying to
hmm
break through the golden pocket, right? So it looks like it's in the cups of making some all-time high stuff. That's
Yeah. Once a chart can get over the golden pocket and start to show strength, that's when you
yeah,
can get major impulses. Like that's definitely the most carry, and it's a good sign that we're at least broken through it and trying to
yeah.
flip it to support and get out of it.
Yeah, it looks like that's what IWM is trying to do.
Yep.
So if I'm looking at that and I'm looking at like IWM versus the Hang Seng, basically like why am I so like if I'm bullish on Chinese market, why am I not in it over the next like 6 to 12 months, right? Well, I think it's going to be bullish anywhere from like the next 6 to 12 months, but every single time whenever Chinese market goes up, the US goes up. Every single
hmm
time when the US goes down, China goes down. Every
Yep.
single time but not every single time when US goes up, China goes up.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's just one of those things that it's like the US market can actually do pretty decent over here like during this stretch here from like 2018 throughout the entire year.
While
And
China's weak, yeah.
yeah, so I'm a little bit skeptical. Same thing here at S&P 500. You can have, that's why I want to stay in the US market, but I'm more looking at China as more of just like a liquidity play in terms of what it could do for Bitcoin.
Yeah, it's like a sort
Right.
of a correlation.
Correct.
Yeah.
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 So I'm looking at that as sort of like a correlation between whether or not there's going to be some increased liquidity injection coming in. And it certainly looks like that could be the case based on what I'm seeing, right?
Yeah, I
Like
agree.
I cannot be bearish on Bitcoin. Like I cannot be bearish on Bitcoin if the Hang Seng is going to do this.
hmm Yeah.
So and that could and that I don't think it's
It
going to
just depends on how fast that's gonna do it.
exactly.
Yeah.
But I just have a hard time seeing that just happening in 3 months. I think it's probably going to be more systematic, maybe all the way to maybe like October,
Yeah,
September.
to the fall topping
Right.
time frame.
Right. So that could be a toppy. If it goes up like that, like huge went up there to 0.786 at the negative trend line here.
So really we're just gonna have to watch
Yep.
how it reacts at the 0.618.
Correct. So
If
that
it could get over that, it could point to a sign of it extending into the fall.
yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
and the crazy thing is, and I don't know like how the Chinese economy is, this could be just like a liquidity play
Yeah.
and the Chinese economy can still suck and that could get rejected and never makes an all-time high for like another 20 years. I don't know, right? But I
hmm
don't care about any of that. All I care is just what's going to happen over the next 6 to 12 months.
Yep. Agreed.
So, yeah. So that's one thesis is the China thesis. The other thesis is the IWM thesis. I actually do think that once it breaks above the all-time high here, it generally runs for like another year or two, right? And here, once it breaks the all-time high here, it ran for 6 months here, right? This is what you're
Hmm.
referring to last cycle. It just went like crazy here for like 6 months. It just kind of fell flat, right? But theoretically, it still make a higher high here about a
Yep.
year later, right? So
Hmm.
we still haven't really had that breakout yet for IWM. And I just also show you like the gold liquidity, this cycle is just a lot slower. So I just wonder whether or not that's what I'm kind of seeing here, you know.
Hmm.
The other thing too, like if you look at others, which is the altcoin,
Yeah, I saw you post this. Yeah,
yeah,
this
the
is real nice.
cryptocurrency market cap excluding top 10 coins. So you're not talking about like XRP or like in any like the stable coins or anything. Um, Same thing, right? Backtest last cycle, backtest was when you had the COVID scare, right? And before that, you just had like a big giant cup over here. You had a big giant cup over here trying to break resistance of the global liquidity. Same thing's happening here, except it just takes longer this time.
Yeah, it's wild to me that this little pullback we've had recently, you can compare it to the COVID pullback. Like obviously not as brutal, but the timing on
Yeah.
versus global liquidity and timing versus like
Yeah.
I guess an impulse over the all-time high, like eventually coming out of that, and that would happen this time as well. That's pretty crazy.
It's pretty
Great,
crazy.
great
Like,
chart.
yeah, and I also saw the same thing with Bitcoin dominance too, right? Like the same thing happened with um Bitcoin dominance.
Mm,
It's not
yeah,
really going to be able to have a significant drop until you have a after the back test and you have a run up, right? It's not going to drop
yeah.
significantly until you have a back test and after a run up of global liquidity, right? So right now what's happening, we've been basing here for a very long time, which is why Bitcoin dominance has been going nuts for a very long time. But also had an exhaustive top over here, right? You also saw that.
Hmm.
It's very much an exhaustive top, and this exhaustive top is also happening during a backtest of global liquidity, right?
Yeah, and the I think the weekly
Yeah.
RSI and maybe even the monthly have pretty big bear divs.
Yeah.
Like,
So that's another thesis in terms of, hey,
yeah, I never knew that M2 had an indicator. I thought it was just something you just add in as like a separate chart. I'm I'm
apparently, yeah,
gonna have
I
to
saw
start.
that. And like the great mass speed pointed out to me, like you can actually,
Yeah.
and that actually works out pretty well because you can actually line up charts together with it.
No, yeah, it's great because it's
Yeah.
annoying when you have to add in another chart and line them up. It's not as,
I
you
know.
know,
Yeah,
it's
like
just
over
harder to line
here,
up.
yeah, I have to line up myself, like, yeah,
Yeah, like you have to look at the timing and make sure. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
that's great. Yeah, I'm gonna have to start to use that.
yeah. So look it up, like M2 Global Liquidity Index.
Mhm.
Yeah. This is I don't know how big you are into like the volume weighted average price thing, but
I haven't gotten into it yet, but it's something I need to get into. Yeah, I've
yeah,
seen
I
many
guess
great charts on it.
yeah. The idea is just these can serve as like great resistance and support. And I did this basically from like the 2018 top for the others chart.
Hmm.
And like it's just served as great resistance and support, right? Once it broke down, it went down for a very long time. It broke back above, it's just been back testing like crazy. And it's been positive sloping here too.
That's
And we
great.
just bounced off it like perfectly on the others chart.
Yeah, that wick is crazy. That wick earlier this week bounced off so many like very key levels, and people were just acting like,
Yeah.
"Oh, it's over." Like we hit such major support and bounced so strongly off of it. Like
Yeah.
I don't see how it doesn't continue to hold.
Yeah. Same thing if with Ethereum too. It bounced off
Yep,
like the VWAP of the 2021 top. Like there's
nice.
just a lot of confluence over here.
Yeah,
And
so much.
And the same thing too with like the base and global liquidity. I think last time it just went up a lot faster, backtest a lot faster, and just ran up, right? Here
Yep.
for Ethereum, it was just basing off a very long time. And during this backtest here, during the backtest of global liquidity here, we also end up backtesting this VWAP here for a very long time, you know?
Yep.
So it just makes me wonder, maybe that rejection here was like very similar to rejection over here. Maybe this backtest here is very similar to a liquidity backtest. Maybe we're getting ready for something potentially big coming. I don't know. It's just, or maybe like
Yeah,
you said,
that's
maybe we have a big run up for like 3 to 6 months, and then we just kind of go sideways or down here, and then next thing you know,
mhm.
maybe we don't have as much of a drawdown for Ethereum because we don't have that big giant run up, right?
Yeah.
That's
Either
also
either way, we both agree on
yeah.
a pretty decent breakout soon for
Yeah,
everything. Yeah.
yeah, like either to like 4,000, 8,000, 12,000, 40,000. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, whatever it wants to go to. Yeah.
Yeah, wherever it wants to go to, it's just going to do its thing. So I think those are like my major liquidity thoughts. I do want to chart, Ethereum here a little bit.
Hmm.
Let me actually get to my Ethereum chart here.
I'm currently sidelined on Ethereum.
No, and that's fine. Like it is showing a lot of weakness. The only thing is like it's just like the Bob Dylan song, like whoever's first, but they would be last, right? That's just kind of how it always works. Kind of like this
No, yeah.
XRP, it's been suppressed for so long, and next thing you know, it's no longer, right? But I also can't really deny the fact that it's just been backtesting Ichimoku Cloud here,
Mhm.
right? It's just been doing a lot of backtests, just like you're
No, the
saying.
wick, those wicks below and it holding, that's great.
Yeah, it's holding, and if you're looking at the linear log here, it backtest is 0.382 here perfectly, right? After it got rejected here, 0.76 couldn't hold the 0.618, so left of the golden pocket came back, backtested a key level here. If you do a log
Yeah,
scale,
I think on the log it's just chopping in the golden
yeah,
pocket. Yeah,
yeah, and the log is
it's
just
like not bearish at all unless, like I said, it's at this key level around this 2000 area where if it did break like under that point 0.5, then we could start getting concerned a little bit. But right now it's really just consolidating in this huge range, and it's really most of it, as you can see, most of the candle closes. They're all in the golden pocket
yeah,
for the most part.
and I love these wicks underneath too. Like to be
Yeah,
honest, that
yeah, they
actually makes me
show
confident.
strength and strong support. Yeah.
Right. And I do think that this is just a little bit of like a prolonged sideways. I think the miners are doing the same thing. I think there's just a lot of shorts and they're just kind of
Yeah, I
suppressing.
capitulated on miners as well, but that was
Yeah.
just I didn't really have shares of those, just options in there.
It doesn't
The
matter.
time decay was killing them, so
Yeah, it doesn't matter if you have Doge, if you have XRP, if you have
hmm
like if you're into alts, if you're in Bitcoin, like it doesn't matter.
yeah, they're all really gonna follow each other. There's just some having extended periods of sideways, but like you said, it's probably due to global liquidity and many other things.
I think so too. One last thing, I think, since you mentioned NVIDIA, I just want to kind of show my NVIDIA chart here. I think this is like my GAN that I did all the way from like, history over here, like
Jeez.
1999 or whatever.
Imagine getting back in there.
I know. Imagine it was like, I guess
Oh
like
man.
pre-split or whatever. It's like 3 cents or whatever.
Oh, I was born right there, 99.
I know it's
Should have
ridiculous.
been investing, I guess. Dang it.
It's a baby. It's But it's like look at this, I guess over here it didn't really hit the next GAN arc over here, which tells me that we might not hit the, next level.
Mhm.
But the last cycle we spent a long time here underneath the arc.
And then back tested perfectly. Wow.
Back tested perfectly, pushed up and then back tested almost perfectly, not quite, but
Yeah,
basically
I'm gonna need a little class on these GAN arcs.
the great Matsky, man. I'm telling you, if you want to join our live stream, like, I think he'll be happy to have you. Like he loves Scan, and he also loves the
Yeah, I see you two using it all the time, and it
yeah.
it seems like something I'm missing out on.
We're making people FOMO, but yeah, like
Yeah.
the way it does, if it breaks above the arc, then the next area, if it has enough global liquidity, then it could push all the way up to like the next level, which is going to be the GAN horizontal here, right? Got
Yeah.
rejected, came back down, almost back test the arc here, and it just pushed through, and then eventually like got rejected here initially, but pushed through the arc here, got rejected here initially, but pushed through the arc, doing a back test, right? So
Mm,
if we have enough global liquidity, and we got rejected here at 2.272, like perfectly.
yeah.
Yeah. So if we have enough global liquidity, if we don't, then this could be the saga top. Absolutely. Trees are top,
Where'd
2.272.
you pull that fib from?
I put a fifth from the last from the top
Okay, yeah.
here to the bottom. Yeah. So
Nice.
yeah, that's where I put a fib. So this is 2.272 log, right?
Hmm.
And got rejected perfectly. If there's no global liquidity, then yeah, Nvidia's dead. I agree. Right. But if there's global liquidity coming, I can see it potentially push up to the 2.618, or even potentially to end the cycle here at like this level over here at like the 3 fib, I guess. It's not really technically a fib, but um I can see that happening because that's kind of what happened over here last cycle. Once it broke through the arc over here, did a little bit of back test here and just went up there, right? And that could be the exhaustive top for NVIDIA. I don't know. I just don't know where it's going to be. If there's no global liquidity coming, if the back test is all false, if the global liquidity just drops, then yeah, NVIDIA is done. right? I agree with you.
Mhm.
And it could just kind of break down underneath the arc and it just kind of gets stuck down an arc, even break down to the horizontal level over here and back test the previous top over here. I doubt it, right? I think it's probably going to end
Yeah,
up,
that would be crazy.
yeah, I think it's probably going to end up like just dropping the arc down and just
Like
get
consolidating the arc for the bear market. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, so that's why I think. But if there's increased global liquidity, 2.618 and 3. That's what I think.
Yeah, the door's open for those. Yeah.
Yeah, because like you said, you were also showing the Bollinger Band here too. You know, I see the same thing. Whenever you have Bollinger Band contraction, I see it kind of very, very similar level like we're over here, right? There's
Hmm.
still an impulse going up. I see a very similar level like we're over here, right? Still an impulse going up before like completely exhausted. And this consolidation sideways over here, very similar consolidation sideways over here, very similar consolidation sideways over here, right?
Hmm.
The one more thing I want to show is that this consolidation between August of 2020 all the way to like April 2021. Guess what happened during this time, right? You remember. You got to remember, right? IWM went crazy
Yeah.
and went crazy during this period of time, right?
All season, small caps, etc.
Exactly. So I wonder whether or not there's going to be a
That's
rotation.
kind of.
Yeah.
It feels like what's about to happen now.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So I can't I think this will probably last more than 3 months. I think it
Yeah.
probably lasts for at least six. That's what I think. And you can very well have like an exhaustive top like you had an IWM last time, but I think it's probably going to happen more than just 3 months. You know, it just takes time to get up to some of the higher FIB levels. Like last time, what it did is it got close to 1.618 here, I guess. You know, but after it broke over the golden pocket here, like the 0.786 here, it just shot way up, right, in a hurry. Look at
Yep.
how beautiful this is, by the way. It's like holding the 1.4 and 4 here. Like,
That's crazy.
yeah. So what's happening, I think, is very, very similar. Once you
It's
break,
kind of like Bitcoin chopping around 70K area, like before the impulse up to 100. It's very similar
exactly.
to that.
It's very similar, and I think it's building up the same thing. I think it's kind of like unlocked is already above the 0.786. It's just been backtesting it.
Mhm.
So I think it's ready, you know. I just I can't, and then also look at the Ichimoku. It's also holding like the conversion or tank in here perfectly.
That's great.
And it's kind of like whenever you see something like that, this is actually a lot more sustainable than the last time.
Yeah, oh man, I
Yeah,
wasn't even touching it. I got away
yeah.
from it.
It just went away, right? And then this is also like a lot more sustainable, even compared to like 2016, 2018. Like it's
Hmm.
systematically touching the Tenkan on the way up.
Yeah, it's been a slower, more sustainable
Right,
kind of rally this cycle for IWM so
right.
far.
So I have a hard time seeing IWM not hitting at least like the 1.414, if not
Yeah,
the 1.618. And I just have a hard time seeing that happening in like 3 months.
yeah, understandable.
Yeah, yeah, but again, like I don't know for sure, right? I think your chart also shows a lot of confluence with the 3 month mark, So or 2 month mark actually, because yours is like a lot more in hurry. So it's just a lot to ask for IWM to do that. It's just a lot to ask for the Hang Seng Index to do that. So I think that it might take its time here, and like you said, it might be very hot for a few months, and it just kind of like another brutal like wave four or whatever,
Hmm.
and then you
Yeah.
have like a wave five to push up in the end of the cycle. I can see that. I can see that.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's all my thoughts. I don't know if I changed your mind or not, but
Oh, I mean, like I said, I'm open-minded to both, but I've been following this March, April top time frame pertaining mostly to crypto for
yeah,
a pretty long while. So either way, if we get a top then or top in the fall, I think it'll be a significant top in the spring
yeah,
and for the summer pullback. But
yeah. I think your SPY fractal on your SPY chart is very telling.
yeah,
And there's a lot of energy that's being built up that's probably going to get released soon. I completely agree with you. And if that happens, there might be some major correction that could happen to indexes. And if that happens, then it's probably the same thing with crypto. I agree. But we can still make a high, like if that's the case, then we can still make like that's a crazy thing,
they
right?
would still make a higher high after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's the crazy thing in like 2026. Like, what are we talking about? Like, that's crazy. But anyway, yeah, that's just those are my thoughts. So
Sounds good. Yeah.
yeah.
Like all your points.
We'll see how it plays out. I think regardless, yeah, if XRP like runs up to like 8, I think taking profit is like a no-brainer. If Doge
Hmm.
runs up to like $2 or $4 or something crazy, I think taking profit is like a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Yeah, if Ethereum goes up to like 5 figures for some reason, I think taking profit is like a no-brainer. But
Agreed.
yeah, but we'll see. Like I just like I had to monitor the trend and see what happens. And
Yeah. At
most
least we both agree the trend
yeah,
isn't over yet.
yeah, trend's
You
not
know,
over
we
yet.
can debate cycle topping time frames, but we're just gonna have to see how it plays out really and see which charts keep correlating and which indicators and fibs, et cetera, keep lining up, and we'll just play it by ear really.
Yeah, I would love to circle back with you maybe closer to like April or something like that. I think it'd be fun to do another collaboration video and kind of share our thoughts. Like these things are really fun with you. So
Yeah, I would be down.
yeah. All right, man. Thanks for taking time. I know you're a busy guy.
Yeah,
So thanks for taking time to
for sure. Thanks for having me.
join us. Yeah, yeah. We'll do this again. If I can bring you with a great Masby, I think you will love it.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I watched your all's videos, and yeah, y'all have good chemistry, and it'd be nice to join y'all one time.
Yeah, I'm telling you, if you got like a Tuesday night open, feel free to come in and join us. I think it'd be great to have you. So,
Sounds good.
all right, man. I'm gonna stop recording. So here we go.
Cool.